Good morning, planet Earth! This is the weekly Anarchist news for the week ending July 24th, 2016. A wonderfully interesting week we've had. Our first story is the Republican National Convention, where Donald Trump, only a few months ago, everyone of the political elite pundit class said was completely impossible, but it happened. He secured the nomination, and well, the convention seemed to be more interesting than any other Republican Red Team convention I've seen in my 27 years. Melania Trump gave a great speech. The media cried plagiarism, the only thing they could think of to detract from it. I respond with a resounding, whatever. I mean, reality check, political speech is boring as hell. There's only so many ways to say that you respect your family and that, your word is your bond type stuff. Obama in 2008 plagiarized his speeches off of some, I think a Massachusetts governor, so it really, doesn't matter. Ted Cruz snubs the Donald, does not endorse him, and then becomes Red Team bottom bitch, and everybody proceeds to completely desecrate his name and career. Kind of entertaining, actually very entertaining. The Donald himself speaks, basically verbally choke-slamming the establishment of the political class, quite entertaining. I would say, in my opinion, the most powerful speech in the post-9/11 era. The media says, too negative. With the polls tied and Trump moving centrist and gathering many voters, that basically are disaffected by the shenanigans of the blue team, and Hillary's basically got nothing, basically perhaps cocaine has finally exhausted the Clintons. Bill looks like he's riddled with cancer and they just dress him up with makeup, and Hillary doesn't look too great either. I think they're just propping them both up on sticks at this point. But anyway, the debates should be fun, entertaining experience for us all. The next story, Saudi Arabia, 9/11 and the 28 pages. Congress released 28 pages from a 2002 intelligence report regarding Saudi Arabia and its involvement in 9/11, okay? It basically was absolute proof revealed in the 28 pages, even with the redactions, crossing shit out, that Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia, otherwise known as Bandar Bush, because he's so well connected with that international crime family, he basically funded the handlers of the supposed hijackers, okay? Media says, no big deal, yeah, whatever, let's move on. It's funny how damning some of these documents coming out, and they just try and, it's just a distraction. Here's jingle the keys, give another distraction. And this information really isn't relevant to explaining how 210-story skyscrapers turned into powder in 10 seconds apiece, but, it's very interesting, all this information being dredged up from the darkness so that humanity now in this time of apocalypse can basically come to terms with it and accept that, there's been trauma, it sucks, it had sucked, and now we're moving into a greater age when very beautiful things will happen on a daily basis for most of the population, so get excited. Our next story, South China Sea shenanigans. The ascendant global power China is projecting its military might into the South China Sea. The United Nations Tribunal, High Justice Court type organization, says, check yourself, China, this shit is illegal. Imperial Washington supports the ruling and sends in more warships, surprise, surprise. The USA Corp basically overthrew Ukraine and started installing weapons and missiles on Russia's doorstep, basically antagonizing the entire world as always. But of course, it's complaining because China is building some airstrips and building some submarine bases in the only place they really strategically can in the South China Sea. Our next story is the Syria drone strike casualties, or just the general awful stuff happening over there. The American Empire continues flying death robot attacks in Syria. Flying death robots are basically doing the work of murdering whole populations, and slaughtering them all wholesale. Some U.S. military nerd playing his little video game slaughtered 85 civilians. At least a dozen were women and children killed by attack on the wrong village. In other news, the U.S.-funded terrorists in Syria behead They cut the head off of an 11-year-old boy because they thought he was a spy. Luckily, demons from Libya, released by Hillary Clinton and the imperial state, basically are now in Syria, and they're killing kids for spying. And this is a wonderful situation, right? Luckily, the internet media revolution is illuminating these crimes, and by shining a light, we can bring the people who are orchestrating this nonsense to justice. And our last story, again, kind of departing from the, well, it's still the political realm, but a little more entertaining from outside of the standard shenanigans, is the global warming mission. Okay, so a ship was dispatched on a mission to the Arctic Circle to measure the anthropogenic global warming ice losses. Basically, they've been saying that there's been so much ice melt that now you can sail a boat from Russia to the United States and to Northern Europe, and there's just no ice, so you can go and just sail a boat around the Arctic Circle. This is basically what they set out to prove. They hoped to show the world the reality of climate change and the melting glaciers and Arctic ice. And then while sailing, the ship and crew got stuck in ice and had to get rescued. I'm sure the media will say that this ice that they had to be rescued from was the warmest ice on record, just like the giant baseball-sized hail that's falling in South America. That's the warmest giant ice balls on record. Air temps are down, sea temperatures are down, there's ice extent, huge ice extent and growth in the Arctic and the Antarctic, but of course, to the media, it's the warmest ice on record. Some final thoughts for the week. Across the board, truth is being revealed. In each instance, the media is straight up lying to us. In days past, media lies would have worked. Narrative can be crafted, and polls meant to gauge public opinion are actually used to shape public opinion by getting people thinking that most of their neighbors and families support this or that political candidate, and you should too. But the Brexit event and result shows the cracks in the wall. These people who supposedly, these elites who control the world, are not impenetrable, they are not invincible, and their structure is collapsing. Hooray! Let us break it down, sledgehammer style. Let's accelerate its decline. Let us sing the fall of Babylon, now inevitable. History will remember these days as the rise of the superhuman. So fire up the X-Wings and set those amps to 11, my brothers and sisters, because it's time for a global dance party. Get excited.